Hello there, I'm Big Alias. How are you? Do you know what? Never mind. Don't answer the question. If you're gonna be like that, just don't answer it. We've recently spoke. The hell happened to my voice? Do you know what? I would retake that, but my voice did something quite extraordinary that, and I want to come back to it and explore what the hell happened to my voice. So we recently spoke about that Snyder film, Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, which is a sequel to a sci-fi film. And now we're covering another sequel to another sci-fi film in Dune 2. And I couldn't think of more polar opposite sci-fi sequels, not in terms of content, but in terms of quality. Whereas Rebel Moon Part 2 just scraped by and was good enough for a viewing, I think, given that it had one thing that was enough meat on the bone in that second half of the film with the big action scene. In Dune 2, we just have heaps and heaps of tremendous sci-fi, of just chef's kiss, absolutely phenomenal sci-fi, the type of sci-fi that you just always wanted, that you always begged for, and that only comes around every once and again, every now and then, I suppose would be a better term. It just comes around every now and then. You're like, oh my god, you've done it. You've made that sci-fi that I wanted, and this is that. Excuse me. It's so good it made me burp. There is a long list of reasons as to why this film is so tremendous, and as to what makes a film tremendous. So screw it. Let's go through that list. This is a 2 hour and 40, I think 2 minute long film, so let's call it a 3 hour long film. Every second is captivating. The cinematography is phenomenal. It's masterful cinematography. Absolutely excellent use of shots. The shots themselves are fantastic, and the cut is absolutely brilliant too. The pacing is remarkable. There's so much breath given to this film, so much time used to just absorb things and take everything in, and that is just, it's rare, and particularly in a 3 hour long film, to come away from it wanting more is an indication that the cut is tremendous and that the pacing is fantastic. The use of space is something that the director Denny, begins with a V, uses tremendously well. I'm actually quite the fan. It was absolutely excellent in Blade Runner and in Arrival and in Dune Part 1 and here in Dune Part 2. It's once again excellent and perhaps even the best. He just uses the environments that he creates so well and gets so much out of them. He just uses the sets, just gets so much out of the sets. He creates so much meat on that bone, and you get these contrasting the very rich, heavy oranges, and bathed, these sets that are absolutely bathed in light. We have monochrome sets that run absolutely parallel to it, but it sounds like it might not work, but it works tremendously well. So yeah, the use of space, as is always the case, is fantastic. Twinned with some brilliant cinematography, just brings you a visual delight from start to finish. The casting is fantastic, and I know that I have the books, but I've never read them, so I'm not talking about match casting. I'm talking about casting in terms of the fact that I believe every one of these characters, and I believe every relationship that they have and they're in, which leads me to the next great point, which is the performances themselves, which are absolutely excellent here. Obviously, you never get a bad performance out of Javier Bardem. I love Javier Bardem to death, and he is brilliant in this film. Way better in this film than he was in the first film. A little bit light-hearted, a little bit goofier than he was in the first movie, but I like that, and I'm happy about that. Zendaya's excellent in this film. I've never seen a better performance from her than here. Rebecca Ferguson, absolutely tremendous. Timothée Chalamet is great, and he carries the film well. I would say the only criticism I have about this film is there are some moments where he is hamming it up and chewing it, chewing the scenery, which I love. I love performances like that, and I think we need more of them. I love when actors just chew the scenery up. But there are a couple of moments where he's absolutely hamming it, and I just don't completely buy it, that he's formidable in any way. It just doesn't really resonate with me 100%. That would be my only criticism. Every other performance is absolutely fantastic. Josh Brolin is brilliant. Dave Bautista, he chews the set more than anyone else, but he's excellent. Austin Butler, I think his name is, a great performance, a really great performance. Christopher Walken, sometimes I can't take him seriously. Only in Pulp Fiction Was I able to like look past how memed he's become? He is excellent in this film. He is really good in this film. And Florence Pugh doesn't get, I would say, enough time to really show her acting chops, but I'm sure in the third film, which I'm really hoping happens, she'll be able to do that. Everyone's great. Everyone's great, and like I said, you really believe the interpersonal relationships of each of the people here. And I think lastly, I'm not sure whether I want to touch on anything else. The lore in this film, the way that lore is implemented and utilized and introduced, works in a way where it's like, I feel as though I'm getting so much out of this. I'm learning so much about the universe. Every step they take unearths something new. And yet I feel like there's a billion things that I want to know and need to know, and I'm going to have a great time learning. Like, I feel like there's a corner here and a corner here and a corner here that I haven't visited, but I know that they use the worms for this, and I know that they can do this with them, and I know that the walk goes like this, and I know that if they go over there, there's this, and there's a munitions dump here, and I know all of this, but I'm desperate to know more, but in the best possible way. Not in a way where it's like, I just don't feel like the universe has been unearthed enough and I need to know more. No, in a way where it's like, there's so much going on in this universe, and I know that there's more, and what I've uncovered so far is so interesting that I just want to uncover more because I know it's going to be great. And that, I have seldom seen many films where that was so well implemented. I mean, it reminds me of the first time I ever saw Star Wars, where I was like, what is all of this? And I wanted to know so much more. Unfortunately, I eventually did, but here, yeah, I can't think of a time other than the first time I saw Star Wars where I was so invested in like knowing more about all of this, about this war and stuff like that. Oh yeah, I said that would be the last one. How could I forget the battle scenes, which are absolutely awesome. Huge, large-scale battle scenes, but it's not just people hitting one another with swords. There's so much more going on there, and we get our close quarters combat fight. Where he, Denny pulls away the music. There's no soundtrack. Kind of pulls the Dark Knight, Bane versus Batman fight situation where you just hear the thuds of the hits, but it works just as well here as it did there. It's really great. And yeah, like I said, you have a huge battle, but there's people doing things here and there and here and there, and you are able to focus on what those people are doing, which makes the fight a lot deeper. It's just, everything here is great. I could not recommend this film enough to someone who loves sci-fi, but just someone who loves movies. It's just it's a blast, but it's deep. There's great storytelling, great symbolism, great subtext, excellent writing, fantastic performances, and if all of that isn't enough for you, the film just looks amazing. Just watch it. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Just watch the movie to see some beautiful visuals. And honestly, that should be enough. So this film is absolutely tremendous. And yes, you need to see it.
The PlayStation's only $149, and you can also get leading titles.